The mahogany doors of Preston and Associates law firm loomed before me as my father's voice boomed through the hallway. She doesn't belong here. Margaret was barely functioning in her final years. This will reading is for real family members only. I smoothed down my simple navy dress, a hand-tailored Loro Piana piece that cost more than my cousin Rebecca's entire wardrobe, and maintained my composure. For 3 years, I'd been the only one who visited Grandma Margaret regularly, managing her investments while the family assumed I was just keeping an old woman company. Julia shouldn't even be here, Rebecca chimed in, adjusting her flashy designer belt with its obviously fake logo. All she did was play nurse while we were building successful careers. If they only knew that those quiet afternoons with Grandma had been spent restructuring her entire investment portfolio, turning her modest wealth into an empire worth hundreds of millions. While they were too busy to visit, I had helped Grandma create something extraordinary. "Mr. Preston will see you now," the receptionist announced, eyeing my family's growing hostility with concern. "Julia, wait outside," my father commanded. "This doesn't concern you." I caught a glimpse of Mr. Preston through the doorway, the only other person who knew what Grandma and I had accomplished together. He gave me a subtle nod, right on schedule. "Actually," I started, but my older brother Michael cut me off. "Just go get coffee or something useful," he sneered. "We'll let you know if there's any charitable donation in your name." I thought about the documents waiting to be revealed, about how Grandma had laughed when we finalized her plans 3 months ago. "Sometimes," she'd said, "the best lessons come with a change of address." My phone buzzed, a message from Grandma's investment team. "All properties transferred successfully. Tenant notices ready for distribution." The family filed into the conference room, pointedly closing the door in my face. Through the glass, I could see them taking their seats, already discussing how they'd divide Grandma's supposed fortune. "She wasn't even coherent near the end," my Aunt Susan declared loudly. "Spending all that time with Julia probably addled her mind even more." If they only knew that during those addled moments, Grandma had been orchestrating the most brilliant financial maneuver of her life. While they assumed she was declining, she was actually building a real estate empire that would change all their lives. Another buzz from my phone. The property management company confirming that all security codes and locks would be changed by sunset. My cousin David's voice carried through the door. "Remember how Julia used to brag about being Grandma's favorite? Guess we'll see how far that got her." I smiled, thinking of the afternoons Grandma and I had spent reviewing property acquisitions. "They think money is about buying things," she told me. "Real wealth is about owning the things other people need." Mr. Preston's assistant opened the door. "Miss Walker? We're ready for you now." I entered the conference room, taking in the scene. My family arranged around the massive table, their expressions ranging from annoyance to outright hostility. "This is a private reading," my father started, but Mr. Preston held up his hand. "Actually, Miss Walker's presence is essential to these proceedings." He opened a thick folder. "Shall we begin?" I sat quietly in the corner, watching as my family leaned forward eagerly. They had no idea that everything they thought they knew about Grandma's wealth was about to change. "Before we proceed," Mr. Preston continued, "I should note that Mrs. Margaret Walker was of completely sound mind when she made these arrangements. We have extensive medical documentation and video recordings of all our meetings." My father waved his hand dismissively. Yes, get to the distributions." Mr. Preston adjusted his glasses. "Very well. We'll start with the residential properties where you're all currently living." The stage was set. In just moments, they would learn that the granddaughter they'd dismissed as a simple caretaker was about to become their landlord. After all, Grandma always said timing was everything in both business and revenge. "Let's begin with the residential properties," Mr. Preston announced, his tone carefully neutral. "As you know, Mrs. Walker owned the homes where each of you currently reside." Yes, my father interrupted impatiently. "The houses will obviously be transferred to their current occupants. We've already discussed renovations." Mr. Preston cleared his throat. "Actually, Mrs. Walker made quite different arrangements. All residential properties have been transferred to Walker Heritage Limited, a corporation established 3 months ago." Rebecca frowned. "What corporation? Just tell us who gets what." "I'm getting to that," Mr. Preston continued. "Walker Heritage Limited is now your landlord. Here are your new lease agreements, Effective immediately. The room exploded into chaos as he distributed thick envelopes. Lease agreements? My brother Michael shouted. This must be a mistake. That's my house. Actually, Mr. Preston corrected, it was your mother's house and now it belongs to Walker Heritage Limited. Your rent will be due on the first of each month at market rates. My Aunt Susan ripped open her envelope and gasped. $3,000 a month? This is robbery. That's the current market rate for your neighborhood. I spoke up for the first time. We had multiple independent appraisals done. The room fell silent as every head turned toward me. We? My father asked slowly. What do you mean we? Mr. Preston smiled slightly. Allow me to introduce the owner and CEO of Walker Heritage Limited, Miss Julia Walker. The silence that followed was deafening. Rebecca's fake designer belt clicked against the table as she slumped in her chair. This is impossible, my father sputtered. She's nobody. She's nothing. Actually, Mr. Preston continued, Mrs. Walker and Miss Julia spent the last 3 years restructuring the entire family portfolio. The properties you're living in are just the beginning. He pressed a button and the room's screens lit up with a comprehensive overview of Walker Heritage Limited's holdings. Apartment complexes, office buildings, shopping centers, an empire worth over $300 million. While you were all too busy to visit, I said quietly, Grandma and I were building something extraordinary. She taught me everything she knew about real estate and investment. Those afternoons you thought I was just playing nurse were actually board meetings. You can't do this to us, Michael protested. We're family. Family. I laughed softly. Like when you told everyone I was taking advantage of a senile old woman. Or when you tried to have me removed as her caregiver. My phone buzzed. A message from the property management company. New locks installed at all properties. Security codes changed as requested. You have 2 options, I continued, opening my laptop. Sign the lease agreements at market rate or vacate within 30 days. Grandma was very clear about the terms. This is ridiculous, my Aunt Susan declared. We'll contest the will. You can try, Mr. Preston interjected. But Mrs. Walker made dozens of videos explaining her decisions. She also underwent 3 separate mental competency evaluations. This was all very carefully planned. I pulled out another set of documents. She also documented every missed holiday, every ignored phone call, every time you were too busy to visit. 3 years of detailed records showing exactly why she made these choices. The fight slowly drained from their faces as reality set in. They weren't just losing their inheritances, they were becoming tenants in their own homes. The lease agreements need to be signed by the end of business today, I informed them. Otherwise, eviction proceedings will begin tomorrow morning. After all, as Grandma always said, real estate waits for no one, especially those who never bothered to understand its value. The aftermath of Grandma's will reading sent shockwaves through the family. Within hours, local real estate agents were flooded with panicked calls from my relatives desperately seeking alternative housing, only to discover that rental prices everywhere were even higher than what I was offering. One by one they signed the leases, their hands shaking with rage and humiliation. Initial here, acknowledging the no sublease clause, I instructed my father, watching him grip the pen so tightly it nearly snapped. And here, accepting the terms of property maintenance. You're enjoying this, aren't you? He growled. I thought about all the family dinners where they'd mocked my choice to spend time with Grandma. All the snide comments about how I was wasting my potential by not pursuing a real career like them. Actually, I replied, I'm just following Grandma's final business lesson. Real estate is about location, 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 and the location of power matters most of all. My phone buzzed continuously with messages from family members. Rebecca, we need to talk about my rent reduction. Michael, this can't be legal. My lawyers will contact you. Aunt Susan, please, let's discuss a family discount. I archived them all, focusing instead on the property management reports. The empire Grandma and I had built was already generating substantial returns, and I had plans for expansion. 1 month later, I sat in my new office. The converted sunroom where Grandma and I had plotted this entire transformation. The room still held her favorite chair, but now it overlooked a scale model of our real estate holdings. Your father is here to see you, my assistant announced. He doesn't have an appointment. I watched on the security feed as he paced the lobby, his once immaculate suit showing signs of wear. The country club membership he could no longer afford had taken its toll on his carefully maintained image. Send him up, I decided. It's time for his first monthly property inspection anyway. He entered like a deflated version of his former self. Julia, this has gone on long enough. We need to discuss a reasonable solution. Reasonable? I raised an eyebrow. Like when you reasonably suggested I was taking advantage of Grandma? Or when you reasonably tried to ban me from her funeral? We were wrong, he admitted. But this punishment. This isn't punishment, I corrected him. This is business. Grandma taught me well. Every investment should generate appropriate returns. I turned my laptop screen to show him the family property's current market values. Your home's worth has increased 15% since the transfer. The rental income is exactly what any business owner would expect. But we're family, he protested weakly. Family. I smiled, pulling out Grandma's old diary. Let me read you something Grandma wrote. They think blood is thicker than water, but they forget that concrete foundations matter more than both. Over the next few months, the family dynamics shifted dramatically. Rebecca downsized to a smaller apartment in one of my buildings. Michael's wife left him, tired of his reduced circumstances. Aunt Susan had to get a job for the first time in 20 years to afford her rent. My property empire continued to grow. Walker Heritage Limited acquired more buildings, expanded into commercial real estate, and developed new luxury complexes. The family homes were just a small part of a much larger portfolio. 1 year after the will reading, I received an invitation to a family reunion, hosted at a modest community center rather than their usual country club. Your cousins are organizing a family meeting, my assistant reported. They want to discuss reconciliation. I looked at the security feeds showing my relatives in their now rented homes, all maintaining properties they once thought they'd own. Tell them their landlord is unfortunately too busy with real estate matters to attend, I replied. But they're welcome to submit any property maintenance requests through the official channels. Grandma's photo smiled down from my office wall. Remember, she told me during our last meeting, the best investment isn't in properties, it's in lessons learned. I picked up a stack of lease renewals waiting for signatures. The family that had once banned me from a will reading would now need my signature to keep their homes. After all, as Grandma always said, real estate isn't just about owning property. It's about understanding the true value of what you possess. And sometimes, the most valuable possession is the power to make others realize exactly what they've lost. The empire she helped me build stands as a testament to her wisdom and foresight. While they thought I was just a caregiver, I was becoming a CEO. While they dismissed our afternoon meetings, we were creating a legacy. Now they all live in my buildings, pay rent to my company, and understand that sometimes the person they underestimate the most becomes the person they depend on for shelter. As for me, I have properties to manage and an empire to expand. After all, real estate empires don't build themselves, but they do help rebuild broken family dynamics, one lease agreement at a time.